Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 65th episode of our first run on YouTube for House of Light, the expansion of Book of Hours. I'm System Chalk. We have been working on the Heart-Haunted Room. We got an unexpected benefit by opening up the Stair Tenebris. So what's nice about this is that this gets more or less the baronial period sorted out. I think there might be a couple of other baronial rooms that Yeah, so the Gullscrag Tower technically counts as baronial. But the main body of the house, the Heart-Haunted Room, is sort of the last of the big ones. And then the Weird Curse Spire is also one that I'd like to work on. I imagine probably a storm is the most likely thing to help me open that up. But it's not quite the same. I don't know, I don't quite feel the same urgency on that one. I think it's because you get an achievement when you open it up. But yeah, it's the other big bit of news is that I've kind of broken out of the stasis as far as the skills are concerned. I've definitely been moving up things like Great Signs and Great Scars. There'll be a couple of others that I do that for as well. But the aim there is really to just make, excuse me. The real aim behind that is to just try and come up with some credible paths to skills that will let me read other books without necessarily committing myself to a particular path through the Tree of Wisdoms. I definitely have some ideas in terms of where I'd like to put them. They're still largely broad strokes, and that's sort of been working against my interests because if I have... I don't know, I'll try and take a good example. Let's say pentiments and precursors, so let's look at the other scale candidates, or other Schola Kosovo candidates. So if my options here were pentiments and precursors, sharps, orchids and narcotics, rhyme and remembrance, these are 4 different skills that I will keep at level 2 until I have decided which one I want to commit to the Tree of Wisdoms. And, you know, obviously... if I stop reading books to be able... Oh, sorry, and Serpents and Venoms. If I stop reading books to be able to make that decision, that can really cause the playthrough to slow down. Now, there is a specific reason why I did it that way. When you run into things like herbs and infusions, that will help you... that'll help you get rid of curses. And so once you sort of know what sort of, or well, not just curses, but any kind of affliction on the various books, once you have an idea of what you're up against, you can decide which ones you want to prioritize in terms of the higher levels. You know, it's not easy to get any given skill to these higher levels. So again, there's some give and take. I've been learning with these different approaches that there's actually a lot of... I like how this game really does give you a number of different avenues that you can explore. I feel like this is something that I should try and bring up if I do get a chance to interview Weather Factory again, although likely it wouldn't be related to this game. But I think there's really something interesting in how there's clearly some skills that will give you pretty powerful, they can give you some pretty powerful boosts in terms of, like, you know, the Edicts Martial will give you the Wormwood Dream relatively easily. So that's a good one to level up. But I don't really know if there's one ideal way to go through Hush House. And definitely when you're first learning the game, I feel like you're very unlikely to see those approaches. So the fact that I've been trying these different paths each time I play the game has actually been giving me a bit of an appreciation in terms of just how diverse the approaches can be in this game. And I don't know, I have a lot of respect for how Weather Factory sort of pulled this off, because I think it's easy to tell a story. Well, okay, it's not easy to... if you could do that, everybody would be telling good stories. But what I mean is that there's sort of this idea of telling a narrative. It's something that a lot of people want to do. But what I think is quite special about this one is that rather than just be like a short story or like a lot of narrative that you will see in games, that sort of imposes a particular path on you, at which point you wonder why you're playing a game, you can approach this game from your own perspective and your own interests, and it will not prevent you from being able to experience it. You're essentially able to explore the game, and it will give you interesting things to look at, as opposed to sort of tell you, nope, sorry, you got to find the way I want you to play this, and then you know, eventually, like, the process of playing the game is essentially finding the path that the developer thought was the best one. So it's I don't quite know how they did it. So now I'm curious. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much time away from that. Mrs. Kill is about to finish her snack, and then we can start talking about potential Nock and Sky topics. In a pinch, we still have the elements of the soul. It might be nice to get an earlier start on those. Ooh, I probably should actually be starting on that pretty soon, but we'll try and talk with Mrs. Kill. We'll maybe do 2 of those, and then we can start shuffling in a few of the we'll shuffle in a few of the memories that we know Mrs. Kill can't generate. I don't think we should be too worried about it. Knockworks, or sorry, it's not Lockworks and Clockworks, it's glass blowing and vessel crafting. Knock and Sky are not that hard. So we've got Stolen Secret, we've got Solace, we've got Storm. Revelation it is. There's a few of these that we can work with. I think now's the time for me to... Let's do... I'll get a Stolen Secret. Sorry, that's Salt. So we'll do Crossing to Noon. And... I did want to use the core and the health for other things, but I also wanted to use the Tryst. Alright, for that, I can't remember if we have Perugian Diaries. We have the Intimations of Skin. We also have the Patterns. I don't think we have... Oh no, here it is. Okay. I feel like I'm overcorrecting now, but we'll do the other Eye of the Serpent. Well, that's 2, so that's sufficient for my immediate needs. We'll also get one from the book. I probably should have acknowledged that. Alright, on imperfections, Pomander, Lightsmith, and Lantern Long describes the process of transinhabitation, which he calls a manifestation of imperfection. Lantern Long lack bodies, and so cannot normally leave the Mansis, but they can steady glint in the physical world by establishing a road of glass. Pomander notes with disgust that the order of Long called the Obliviates refer to it as scrining, which he considers a debased term. Pomander explains that the benefits of transinhabitation... Pomander explains the benefits of transinhabitation, that a Lantern Long can affect the senses and thoughts of those nearby, and that they can even enter their spirits, and that they can employ the senses of those inhabited to experience again the scent of blossom and season. This seems to be what interests him the most. He insists that a Lantern Long should only ever inhabit a mirror of silver, not silvered glass, but he declines to explain why. Okay, so that pattern is inconvenient. So the ways I can get out of this, I could use the occult scrap, but then the question is how I get another one. I can hope in 17 seconds that Mrs. Kill gives us something. Actually, you know what? The best bet here, if Mrs. Kill doesn't give us the one, we'll ask her for another. So we get 2 draws from conversations with Mrs. Kill. And I mean, if it winds up being a waste, you know, so be it. It's not the first time that's happened, but it'd be nice if we can get something we can work with. Okay, regret doesn't help. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. I was thinking if there was a sky or knock thing I could get through the consider verb, but I don't think there is. At least none that immediately sprung to mind. Brilliant. Okay, the solace saves the day. So let's keep talking with Mrs. Kill. Sorry, the response on there. I keep forgetting to read the responses. So there it is and can be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, what is it? She moved from Brankrug to marry Mr. Kill, but it's about her continental accent. I feel bad. I've read that so many times. I should remember that. But we'll see it next time. All right, I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. Now, if I'm going to be... This is actually also a point I should make some clear decisions in terms of what I'm trying to get. So we're getting... we're getting a knock text here. We're getting the salt here. So technically, I just need one more memory to be able to level up glass blowing and vessel crafting again. And then, of course, one to actually do the leveling. So let's say we'll set aside the shaft. Okay, so we'll set aside the shaft and the Faust. So I suppose the question is, do I want to go to Crowcross Sands or do I want to make more Catwink? I don't see a lot of advantage to working with the Catwink right now, so we'll use Wolf Stories with our Tryst. And I think because we've seen the benefit of the pairs, we do have a couple of other pairs kicking around. So we've got one on the shelf here. I think it makes sense for us to draw some more fruit, seeing as we're going to be losing access to them a little bit sooner than I might appreciate. So, of course, if we're lucky, we get something from Mrs. Kill, and we don't need to worry about reading one of the books, but if it comes down to it, I do have the option of generating another memory. The Other Eye of the Serpent, in which the Hisiarch Signifer attempts to resolve certain mysteries of lightning. Signifer considers lightning to be the division, the connection, the joined serpent. The serpent's eye is said to be the sun, but as the division and connection, it must have a second eye. Signifer considers and rejects 3 times the hypothesis that the moon is the serpent's other eye, insisting that it and the sun do not share a nature. This, as much as the serpent business, is what got him burnt by the church. He proposes that the serpent's teeth are towers, that the serpent's mouth is a gate, that the serpent is the devourer of Ys, and therefore that the serpent's other eye is amber. And The Crossing to Noon. The mystic Garcia Sowry gives a picturesque account of the adventures of Franklin Bancroft, the Prince of Wines, and Ava de Wolf, the Pale Lady, on their way to the hidden island of Noon. For a long, long time, the Blackbone pondered her next move, until the moon dared to peep from behind a cloud, and the prince completed the composition of his third sestina. But the lady met the blind gaze of its open pores, waiting for the tide. Garcia Sowry acknowledges in an epilogue that it is widely known that Ava in fact tragically drowned herself and her twin infant granddaughters without ever making such a journey. But he adds contemptuously, it is also widely known that the city unbuilt will so remain, that only one history is ever written, and that Janus is a Mansus prank. Okay. So again, we'll try to hold the line. I don't want to give too much time. I think we'll wait until we see one more from Mrs. Kill, and then we'll actually commit the Foss to reading. And that's just because I don't want to wind up losing my shaft tomorrow. Okay, the gossip didn't quite help me there, but that's fine. There tisn't can be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. And the skill is now level 3. Its power aspects have also increased. Okay, so we will employ our Faust to read the... what do I want to do? Let's read one of the... I'll do Perugian Diaries. I know this one, if you watch my stream, we read a lot, but we will do Instruments of the Heart for the next one. Assuming I remember, obviously. If a week goes by, I'm not going to remember that. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. And the Heart-Haunted Room. The light in this room dims in pulses of sunset red over and over in a half-heard heartbeat that matches the crashing of the waves below. I'll need careful exorcism from someone attuned to these influences. I'm trying to decide what the I'm trying to decide what the next day looks like. So I suppose the first thing I should do here is decide which of these memories I keep. Now, if I'd like to use Denzel to open a room... Yeah, actually, maybe this is how I should think about it. So if I'd like to use Denzel to open a room, like the broken bridge, that probably... The foresight makes the most sense. The regret makes sense if I'm trying to do something with winter, but I'm maybe not so clear what my winter options here are. Well, you know what, let's just take a quick second here. Theoretically, if I were to make another Solomon's Preparation, so we'd have Mr. K with 2. No, hang on, I got this wrong. Okay. So regret brings us up to 8. So West brings us to 10. I guess the Pale Marrow? Okay. I'm leaning very, very heavily on my Whist, though. So I think as an intermediate step, what I'll maybe do is I will try to make a Solomon's Preparation, but I probably won't use Mr. Kill first thing tomorrow. Oh, actually, okay, I've already got one here. Okay, changed my mind. If we've got Solomon's Preparation here, I think we can justify his inclusion. So that tells me to keep the regret. Now that night is fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. And then, of course, the next step will be to get the remaining memory. An afternoon spent profitably, reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Lopoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years, since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Lopoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, "I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I have never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me, and good intentions or not, I can no longer bear the stream of eyes. We have agreed to part almost amicably." Alapoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies, and the latter half of the journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying quality. One of the better ones, in the Marshes of Night, suggests he visited the site of the Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio. Okay, so our glass blowing and vessel crafting. Put that one in there. Grab 3. Apply the shaft. Another fruit plucked from Knowledge's tree. And we've got a mackerel. That's nice. Alright, so I think I'm going to have to move the pears. We can keep them out on in the garden, I think. The fish can be very helpful for scale. Well, moon and scale, honestly, but I don't want to become over-reliant on them, but I also don't want to... I have a really bad hoarding tendency in this game, so... Alright, where am I going to put these other ones? I guess there's technically room up here, but I think I'll put them down on the stairs. So obviously it would be good to get some more eggs. But I have run into the challenge where I'm just doing a little too much with my stuff right now to justify the extra attention. I should also read the description of the room here. Let's wait until the level up is done. Oh, there's actually quite a bit here for me to work with. The skill is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. Glass blowing and vessel crafting. We are all vessels. Let us contain only what will grace us when the light shines through. There's a Blake. So we now have 5 knock and 4 sky from that one. Of course, it's much like Lockworks and Clockworks. It's nothing too, nothing unique about that, let's say. Okay, we'll move you down here. I think I'll try and switch it up a little bit. Okay. Stores. At the time of the Let's try that again. At the time of the Prayer Book Rebellion in 1549, Hendrik used this room as a prison cell for unfortunate locals, including the cunning man and rebel ringleader Red William, who had boasted of the curse he placed on Hendrik's heirs. There will be no 7th of his line. There is a story told in Brandkrug village that Hendrik came to speak with the imprisoned William in person. There will be no 2nd of your line, he told him, and had him gelded here in this very cell, and cast into the darkness of the caves below the house. There is another story that Eva de Wolf one answered an importunate suitor by bringing him here to this room and pointing out a stain upon the stones. Quite a bit of stuff in here for us. So there's a couple of helpful ones here, kerosene and paraffin. So kerosene for the brightest flame, paraffin for bright flame, 3 and 2 forge respectively. They're liquid and fuel. So that's useful among a number of dimensions, but of course we can only use them once in each time. A saw, eternally useful, though not for most librarians most of the time. Another bolt, in this case bolt of pale silk, suitable for handkerchiefs or anbaric experiments. A hurricane lamp, proof against storm wind and moth swoop alike. Steel wire, the Colonel's metal. Scintillate oil, Cater and Hero's finest scintillate oil. Contraband jetsam, flung overboard in furtive haste. A slim parcel, carefully wrapped in brown paper. Glue, a substance that ensures the continued proximity of things to other things. Cucurbit barrette, a vessel with an ambiguous history, so this is also another edge tool. Of course, we've already had the saw, so it doesn't necessarily give us anything new. We've got Schloss Jannings, a dry aromatic wine, so we can restore the cellar a little bit. TRN limited drinking cocoa, a packet, so I'll try again. I want to, where I can, impose order on the house. Ooh. Doesn't want to leave. Bottled candle, an admirable combination of two utterly disparate elements. Quite genius. Grail lantern, it is a candle and light. Skinshuck mead, a murky, sweet-smelling liquid crowded with sediment. So I'm going to start putting this stuff down here. Or will as soon as it lets me. I wonder, did I turn a Lopley's Nook into a Lopley's Distillery? No, it looks like we don't have any booze up there. Might be a good idea to move the slow gin and the scrumpy as well. Okay, 2 boxes of rarities. A tiny treasury of forgotten things. Perhaps there's a real rarity in here somewhere. A basket of towels, a suitable companion for bathing. A bolt of moss green velvet, suitable for a ball gown or Jules cushion. A pitcher of Isle water from Brankrug's Deep Springs. So not that we really need more, but... I'll save the paints. Eigengrau, if Grey Dawn oil were drinkable. So we'll put that down here as well. I'm mostly just getting into this habit because of the... you know, we put all the Roskragen whiskey in this spot. Okay, I think I'm going to try something new with this one. So we'll put the bolts of cloth in this room. Okay, the paints. Yellow paint. This paint is nothing like the sun. Pink. People are never this color. Boss green. The wood is probably not this color. Green. Trees are rarely this color. And dusk blue paint. This paint is the precise color of the Atlantic Ocean at 4 o'clock on a clear autumn afternoon. And palest blue snow is not quite this color. Alright, so in total we've got 4 packages that I need to open. I think if I cram these all together, I can get one more paint can. Yep. Move the scintillate oil up with the... Guess we can probably move the saw up there too. That may not have been the smartest choice here. I don't know where I'm going to find the room to put the Cucurbit Barrette, even though it would be appropriate in this room. So I'll maybe keep that in storage. Not quite sure where I want to put the glue, but we'll set that aside. Yeah, just trying to impose a little. And actually, really, what we need to do here is just put the can. Okay. I'm reasonably happy. We don't have too much time left. So I know it's a little early, but I think I might actually just leave it here. So let's have a think about the next couple of steps. So we do have a number of books to catalog. Now, nocturnal period books, I should feel a little bit safer using the elements of the soul on. Or other elements of the soul on, rather. I think I did say I was going to try and bring Mr. Kill in. So one drawback for that is I need to use the whist to bring him in, and then I need to use the whist to augment him. But I think let's just commit to it now. and then I don't need to worry again. So speak with Mr. Kill. Mr. Kill likes conversations about endings. His wife prefers to talk about beginnings. A shilling will buy his help for a day. Let's do it. So I'm committed there. I'll move the preparation up. I really should just have it in my inventory, but I usually tend to look for it in the flood gallery, so I might as well put it there. So again, that's going to be to open up the Howling Chamber. It may not be a bad idea for me to start thinking about the salon, so that would mean making some follow-up Catwink. Let's move the sand over. But yeah, okay, so the more that I'm thinking about this, maybe what we do, I worry less about, let's say I worry less about what books I'm going to read or any other kind of leveling, and instead, let's say we employ, so the Trist, the Fet, the Health, and the Core. All right. So this top row here is the get stuff done arrangement. So if I want to generate a memory, if I want to, you know, if I want to generate some money, basically these are the elements of the soul that I should be using. There must be order. The Trist, Fet, Health, and Core. So all of these enable other actions for me. If I want to do some gardening, I use the Health and the Core. If I want to go to Crowcross Sands, I use the Trist. So the reason I've built it up that way is that you can sort of see that the middle two here, or actually any of these, 4 of the 6 that I have here, I can dedicate towards opening up all these containers. And I think that would be a good idea for me to follow up on. After that, cataloging books seems to make sense. And then there is a small argument for trying to generate the confounding parable. So we'll use St. Januarius as an example. Excuse me. That's right. We just need two knock for that. And really, I could just take the occult scrap and we're good to go. The only thing is that, obviously, I don't want to use up the occult scrap because we don't have a way of generating that yet. If I wind up getting a yellowing newspaper, then that sort of changes the equation. And of course, I'm not going to get the yellowing newspaper unless I start opening up various packages. So obviously, I've kind of used up the remaining time, but I think that's I'm reasonably happy with that as a strategy for tomorrow. Again, I don't have to rush to do the salons, so even if I don't have all of my, even if I don't have all my Catwink in place, I don't find that a major hardship. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. We've definitely got enough to do, and I feel like we have a few more. I feel like we just generally have more resources in which to be able to do a few of these things. Another one of my outside options, by the way, is also to talk to the chickens and get some more of the eggs, although I don't think it would hurt to get some vegetables as well. I can maybe store those in this room here. Anyways, something for me to consider. Actually, we should really move all of this stuff into the storage room, but something for me to consider for later. Thank you very much for watching. We should have at least one more episode for the week, so I will see you then. Take care.